Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Mugwump Tower, this is Albatross 1-3, requesting permission to land. Over.
I don't need a computer to tell me how to land a damn airplane.
6.
Heads-up display, check.
5,
Lasers, check.
4,
Particle beam, check.
3,
Photon bolts, check.
2,
Chair control, check.
1.
Let's do it.
Broadcasting from a secret underground location somewhere in Mos Eisley, this is the Docking Bay 77 podcast. Make yourself comfortable. The show is about to start. Hello and welcome to the Docking Bay 77 podcast. I am the field representative of the MNU, Dayton Johnson. This is another of our podcast friend picks where we invite another podcaster to choose a topic for their guest spot. Last week, we had Bill Bant of the All 80s Movies podcast. This week, we welcome his partner in crime, Jason Masek. Hello, Jason.
Hello, Dayton and Andrew. This is a pleasure to be back. You can just call me Jason Vandermasek, member of the PMC.
I love that.
Private military contractor podcaster / podcaster.
Oh, fantastic. Not only is he a coffee house entrepreneur, he's also an expert on movie trivia from the year 1986. Check out that, a film by episode. Welcome back, Andrew Blakely.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy you picked this one, Jason. I love this movie. And I know I haven't been here in a while, but when you said you were doing this one, I had to show up.
Yes.
Awesome.
We are discussing the sci-fi action film from 2009. It is District 9.
Breaking news.
The whole world is watching.
The course of human history has changed today.
The ship appears to be stopping over Johannesburg City.
They're spending so much money to keep them here when they could be spending it on other things. At least they're keeping them separate from us.
How do your weapons work?
We're coming to you from the entrance of District 9, the refugee camp set up to separate aliens from the general population.
They told me I was gonna get a vest.
Don't worry about the vest, it'll be fine. Get the new agents, open the door, please. This is an amazing fight. I haven't seen this type of setup. I don't know, this has got the markings there of, so it's definitely alien, but it's not a weapon.
We're seeing heavily armed forces being deployed into District 9.
Nobody really knew what this place was.
Find the freak.
It's gonna be quick. It's gonna be clean. Best of all, it's gonna be quiet. There's a lot of secrets in District 9.
All right, let's hit some opening thoughts. We're going to start with Jason. First, tell us why you chose this and when and where you saw it for the first time and some initial thoughts.
Absolutely. I specifically remember going to see this with my dad back in 2009. I have a great relationship with my father, and I've lived out in the LA area for a long time, and he would jet set from time to time from Colorado to come see me for dinner and a movie and literally fly home the next day. And it was just a real treat for me. So being a sci-fi fan, as my dad has been forever, when the trailers came out for this film and the viral campaigning began for this film, it was a must see. It shot right to the top of the list. So we made it made it a point to go see it. I remember finding a theater that was slightly off the beaten path from where I lived in Pasadena. But wherever it was next to this P.F. Chang's. And I remember going to get a little bite to eat with my dad, and I was feeling a little hungover, which I'm a little ashamed to say. I don't know what I was doing the night before. But, he had come in, and I was like, I got to get some food. And as soon as we saw this movie, my whole attitude and feeling completely changed. This is one of those movies that or I should say I knew was an instant classic for me as soon as I saw it. It was like the movie Drive with Ryan Gosling.
Okay.
That was a similar thing. And it obviously completely different movies, but I'm just saying that. And that was a movie I saw with my dad as well, which is pretty special for me. But the thing is that this type of movie just gets me. There are certain movies that tap into your personal sensibilities, and this is one of those. I thought, and I'll just share a few early memories, is that I just thought it was a brilliant, smart approach to an alien movie. It's a fresh twist on it. Maybe a little touch of Alien Nation, if you want to throw back to an 80s movie, which is what I typically do. That was from 88, and we covered that on our podcast. But I'm just a sucker for a raw, gritty story that adds to that suspension of disbelief. The setting of Johannesburg, South Africa, is brilliant in this. I could talk about the framework, the structure, the relationship development, the effects, the attention to detail, the performances, but I'm going to save some of that for later. Because we're going to get into it a little bit. But you know what I appreciated most upon this viewing in 2009 was that there would be a little movie that would be released after this called Avatar. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say up front right now, I'm not an Avatar guy. I'm not here to knock that film.
Yes.
We all know it's technically brilliant and beautiful to look at. There's no question about the achievement that is Avatar and beyond. But these two movies came out the same year. And the point I'm going to make is that, and this is what I remember from 2009, is that Avatar had a scope about it and this huge world and concept versus District 9, which also had a large world, but it had an intimacy to it that I've always appreciated, and that stuck with me after that first viewing. It's focused. It's about emotional attachment for me personally. So that's it. I mean, there's no question that both films have spectacle and spectacular special effects, but District 9 hit me on a personal level where I actually found it to tug at my heartstrings in certain moments, and I became invested fully in this story. I wasn't distracted by the world itself. I actually was focused on the characters and the arc of this film. So those are, some of my appreciations. That's why I chose it, because it is technically brilliant and just so much fun to watch, even though it's pretty dark.
Yeah,
it's pretty damn dark in areas. But this is a wild ride, and I'd never seen a sci-fi film quite like this, a twist on a certain type of story with social themes and everything. But again, it was the characters and the relationships that got me. So one of my favorites. It's in the top 10 of sci-fi films for me of all time. So had to choose this one.
Sounds good. So great. I'm on a sci-fi movie episode with two people that don't like Avatar that I happen to like.
Jason, I loved that you said that, because just watching Dayton's reaction was priceless for me. Thank you.
Oh, that's all right. It's okay. You guys can be wrong all you want. That's fine. Anyway, no, I'm just teasing. So Andrew, opening thoughts for you.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, I could summarize it like that, but no, I saw this one. I was in college. I went and saw it with some friends, and I was really excited because, as Jason mentioned, all the viral marketing. Didn't really let you know what the movie was going to be, but the early 2000s, we had been on a string of really good sci-fi. Just a couple years prior, one of my absolute favorites is Children of Men had come out.
Yes.
Another
So
near
good.
future kind of gritty, realistic sci-fi. We had Equilibrium. We had. We're still only a few years after The Matrix, and I think so. These things that left you with a sense of unease or a new way of looking at the world. We were on a really good string of those. So I was so excited to see this, and I'm happy to say it didn't disappoint. It was really new. The sort of like found footage thing was a little played out, but this was more of like mockumentary, handheld cameras, a little gritty. And that became like really big in the 2010s. But when this came out, I remember it blew me away. And the ending of this one just sticks with you. I mean, there's a lot of good things you can say about it being technically proficient. But certain movies leave you with this feeling that never fully goes away. And you think about sometimes they just pop into your head. And the ending of this one has always felt like that to me. It's like a good Twilight Zone episode,
right? And
just kind of leaves you something that you're like, oh man. And then it's over and you're stuck there. And I love that for this. So a big fan, like I said, excited to talk about it.
So I do want to mention that with the ending, I completely agree with you, Andrew. The ending is very powerful. Apparently, there are 5 other endings shot, which I have not seen. They're not on my DVD or on my Blu-ray. At least I haven't found them. I've been digging, but haven't found them. But apparently, there is one of them that was so bad that nobody else has seen it except for Bloomkamp and Copley. So, which I'm now I just have to see that. But
I know.
When it came to this film, like both of you, I remember seeing the campaign, the signs everywhere, the no human signs or humans only sign, no aliens or whatever, everywhere. And I was like, what the hell is this? And I saw the trailer. I thought, oh, this looks really great. Well, as we already mentioned, 2009, there were quite a few films that came out. And at that point, I had to kind of really pick and choose to what I was going to see. And I knew I was going to go see Avatar, despite what you guys think. And the Star Trek reboot came out that year. And of course, you had Harry Potter movie came out that year. So there was quite a bit that came out. And when you have a young child, you can only go to the movies so many times. So when it hit video, I was like, yes, I'm going to watch this. And from the first viewing, I loved it. And to everything that, Jason said earlier, the social commentary, the visual effects, the design of the aliens, their technology, the documentary style, and as much as I hate to say it, the violence. I was just enjoying the violence. One of the weapons in particular, which I'll get to later. I just loved it. So when I reached out to Jason to pick a film for us to discuss, and he said District 9, I was like, yes, I'm so excited. It gave me a reason to revisit. I hadn't watched it in years, and it also gave me a reason to buy a copy. So I was like, yes, I'm going to add this to my collection. And yes, it didn't disappoint on rewatch. In fact, I think it even got better than what I remembered. I saw more that I missed the first time. And super jazzed to talk about this. And I'm glad we all are, because I might just let you guys go for a while and decide what I'm cutting out, what I'm keeping. But anyway, let's move on.
That's the fact, Jack! That's the fact, Jack!
It's time for That's the Fact, Jack. These are some production facts about our film. District 9 premiered at the San Diego Comic-Con July 23rd, 2009. It premiered in New Zealand August 13th, in the U.S. August 14th, and South Africa August 28th. Directed by Neil Blomkamp, is in feature film directorial debut, which is impressive, written by Blomkamp and Terry Tatchell, based on Blomkamp's short film Alive in Joburg, starring, I'm going to mess up his name, I know it, Charlton Copley was also in the short film that this was based on, and he also appears in the rest of Blomkamp's feature films. He also, the year later, portrayed Murdoch in the 18 feature film alongside Liam Neeson. That's where probably most people know him from, which is actually a fun version of that. If you want to see a not as version, check out The Losers, which is fun in its own way, which is basically the same idea. Anyway, moving on. Jason Cope plays the prawn Christopher Johnson assisting Wickus. He's also the UKNR chief correspondent, who pretty much has a lot of screen time as well as playing the part of all the speaking aliens. They if you watch the deleted scenes, he shows up wearing the motion capture suit and stilts as well. So very fun. David James as Colonel Venter, the mercenary tasked with capturing Wickus, who's just a terrible human being. I do want to call out Vanessa Haywood, who plays Vickus's wife. She's very good and lovely and does a lot with the short screen time she has. And to round out the cast, you have a large group of South African actors and New Zealand actors as well. A lot of names that I was not willing to even attempt. Anyway, budget of $30 million, a box office of $210 million. So quite the success for a little film made in Johannesburg. So Oscar nominated for Best Picture, Adapted Screenplay, Best Visual Effects, and Film Editing. It was the first documentary-style feature film to be nominated for Best Picture, and it was the first TriStar film since As Good as It Gets in 1997 to get a Best Picture nod. Bringing up Avatar once more, this film and Avatar were the first science fiction films to be nominated for Best Picture since E.T. in 1982. And since these films, a science fiction film has been nominated for that award every year since. And recently, two have won: The Shape of Water, which is fantastic, and Everything Everywhere All at Once. So I attribute this film and Avatar to making science fiction okay to be getting Oscar nominations for Best Picture, since it hadn't happened since '82. That's a big drought. Peter Jackson initially hired Blomkamp to direct a film adaptation of the video game Halo. Well, that fell off. Jackson gave him $30 million to make whatever he wanted, and this is what we got. The film was shot on location in South Africa during the winter, also shot in a slum where the inhabitants were being forcibly moved to government-subsidized housing, which of course mirrors our film. The title is inspired by an actual place, District 6, during the apartheid era in 1966 to be specific. This district was designated whites only, and 60,000 people were forcibly moved to Cape Flats, 16 miles away. So a lot of reality based in this science fiction film, which I find incredible, and which is one of the reasons why it makes it even more powerful. So with that in mind, do you guys have any trivia you wanted to drop? I believe Andrew mentioned something earlier. What have you got?
Yeah, it kind of going into what you were saying about this mirroring a lot of the apartheid South Africa and the racism in South Africa. A lot of the feedback on the film was that maybe it oversimplified or downplayed some of the actual experiences, but to feed into some reality, a lot of the Vox Populi interviews they did, the people in the street interviews they did for this mockumentary style, were real people on the streets of Johannesburg, and they were asking them about Nigerians, and then they would edit that or manipulate it to say they were talking about prawns. So a lot of the awful things that are said were just legitimately said about Nigerian people.
Wow.
And it kind of leads to some
incredible
negative feedback on the film, because there is some negative portrayal of Nigerians as, warlords or gangsters in the film. But I just thought that was fascinating that, as we're talking about this from a sci-fi standpoint and an allegory standpoint, some of it is just really direct and literal.
Right. Wow. Yeah, it kind of hits hard, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Jason, did you have anything you wanted to share?
Just a couple things. Your research was very thorough, Dayton, and I'm glad you brought that up, Andrew, because I did not realize until I did the research, and it makes complete sense that there was controversy due to the depiction of the Nigerians in this film, and that would make sense. They're not put in a kind light. We can put it that way, but. Yeah, I got to represent the 80s, and on behalf of my partner, Bill Bant, who's not on this pod tonight, the fact that Blomkamp said no single film influenced District 9, but cited the 1980s hardcore sci-fi action films such as Alien, Aliens, The Terminator, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, Predator, and RoboCop as subconscious influences. The director had said, I don't know whether the film has that feeling or not for the audience, but I wanted it to have that harsh 1980s kind of vibe. I didn't want it to feel glossy and slick. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's definitely not glossy and slick. It's very gritty.
that's really what stands out to me the most. And thinking about the movies you just said, I think Aliens is the one that feels the most apt, because it feels dirty and sticky, and very practical effects, very textural, and I love that energy. And like I said, I think it became much more popular after this movie, but you didn't see a lot of this at the time.
Very true.
There you go. Another James Cameron connection there.
But a good one this time.
Oh my God. Man, the Avatar hate.
Shots.
Anyway. Right. All right. Let's go ahead and move on.
That was totally wicked!
It's time for That Was Totally Wicked. These are things we love about the film District 9. So, since Jason is our special guest, why don't you tell us something that you love about the film?
Thanks, man. And the question is, what did I not love about this film?
We'll get to that in a few minutes.
It's a laundry list. Yeah. Look, on the surface, got to talk about this tremendous special effects. When I saw this, I could not believe how realistic the prawns looked. And it's funny to me. After this rewatch, I don't know if I realized before that they never actually are identified other than as prawns.
Yeah.
We do not know. They did not give the species a particular scientific name, and they're just called prawns, but they look real. The movement is real. Credit to Jason Cope, who did a lot of that. The movement, and I'm sure the motion capture, et cetera. And they look tactile. And the eyes, when you can see the emotion in the eyes, that's effective. And it makes me think of Planet of the Apes, Andy Serkis, when he does the Caesar things, and you see it's all in the eyes. Well, that was effective in this as well. In Prawn, especially if you want to call it the protagonist Prawn, and Christopher Johnson and his son CJ, you can see it. It's you connect with them, and it rarely was there a movement by any of the CGI created prawns that took me out of it. The design, the detail of their shape, they do look like prawns. I think that was fun in the research that I came across. There's an actual South African prawn, cricket prawn or something like that is not an actual prawn, but more of a cricket. It's weird, but they do look just like them. Anyway, yeah, the attention to detail in the movie, we touched a little bit about on the found footage, the documentary style. It's a great way to tell this story, almost backward when they're talking about, kind of in an accusatory fashion by some perspectives of what happened with this character, Vickers van der Merwe, that he it was a traitor of sorts, that he ended up siding with the aliens and caused this, revolt, this rebellion of sorts. And it's just kind of crazy. And then you actually see what happens, but all of the footage styles, whether it be black and white, and it's either, body cam or security camera, or you get the interviews, and it just feels real. Everything feels so real. And I'll never forget in the trailers when we talk about just that the alien ship design, the mothership, the prawn ship, and when you hear that resonating sound, and it just echoes throughout and it shatters the glass, and everything is just, again, so palpable in this movie. It gives me chills. I'm like, I've never seen anything like that. That looked like a real spaceship in the air. Like, that was like actual documentary footage to me when I saw it. So,
and this 16-year-old CG too, and it still looks amazing. It could come out this year and still be fine.
Well, and we all know that I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I'm just looking at this going, there was so much stuff in the prequels that didn't look this good. When he had all the money in the world to do it.
Yeah.
But they look so good that you never once question if they're real or not, if they're, physical, like practical effects. They just look so great. And their motion, their movements. And you're right. The fact that they were able to give us emotion, like when towards the end there, when Christopher Johnson's trapped, and he has that look, like he feels destroyed, like he's not going to make it to a ship, his kid is lost, and you're actually feeling sorry for this alien who otherwise they're creepy. They're creepy looking, but you're kind of like later like going, I feel sorry for this alien. And so 100%. The visuals all through this film are fantastic. So yeah, I 100% agree.
It's interesting you bring up the fact that these prawns aren't very attractive to look at on the surface. And there is something in the research as well with Blomkamp talking about how he chose them to be bipedal on purpose so that we could relate to them as humans. There's just something about that if you see something almost that's too alien, you're not going to attach emotionally. So for me, when I talk about what I liked about this, it's really about relationship development at the heart of it. So, and character development and the arcs. So we have the social commentary, we have the world, we have the alien aspect, the sci-fi aspect, all wonderful. But what was happening to Vicus himself and his transformation and his mutation is awful. And it's brutal how he goes from being a truly weak character without a backbone. He's emasculated several times in this movie, and it's captured on video. He's embarrassed. And then he goes to finding this strength and the relationship between him and this alien prawn, Christopher Johnson, how that develops. We see what it is for Vandermeer Vicus to become the minority, what that feels like.
And shout out to Charlton on this because he was a nobody. I mean, he had a production, like he'd worked in film, but he had never been in front of the camera. He had shown no interest in acting. And you hit the nail on the head. He starts as this like dorky, unassuming, forgettable, like little mustachioed South African white guy that you would easily forget the moment you meet him. And by the end of it, you really feel for this guy. You understand the pain he's gone through and where he finds the strength. And he carries a lot of emotional weight. And so much of it was ad-libbed too. So it's just like, where did they find this guy?
Right.
Like it's so impressive.
Crazy.
Well, yeah, it's like, you definitely at the very beginning. How did I describe him? I called him a bumbling corporate pawn, not very smart everyman, because he is. He's just kind of nerdy and bumbling and kind of a fool. But it is the love for his wife that drives him, because that's the whole thing. He wants to get fixed so we can get back to her and convince her like this is all made up. It's not me. And then he does befriend Christopher, and ultimately sacrifices himself so Christopher and his son can get onto the ship and go home. So yeah, the character arc for him is wonderful. It's a 180 degrees. I mean, it's fantastic. And yes, considering he had no real experience acting, holy shit.
He really exhibits a real pathos in this.
Yeah.
It's palpable. He's fantastic. It's quite unbelievable. And when you have a story about a man who's just desperately trying to get back to his wife, I'm always in.
Yeah.
Give me, John McClane trying to get back to Holly. It's like, come on, I'm sold. It's great. So you have so many levels in this movie, and there's some great callbacks. I mean, speaking of when you're talking about the documentary footage that Dayton, you gave a shout out to the actress who plays Tanya, because first of all, she's gorgeous. She's beautiful.
She's an angel.
Yeah, she's an angel, right? That's right.
Yeah, exactly. And when she's saying, oh, he made this paper mache thing for me, and it's brief. That's a brief little thing. And what a brilliant callback then to that tugging at the heartstrings moment at the end.
Yeah.
That's the intelligence that's so layered into this movie. So, I mean, the weaponry, look, I grew up a sci-fi. The weaponry is like, come on, that's like crack for me. It's just pure crack. It's so cool.
Yes.
It's like, oh, this weapon does this. This one's like a rocket launcher. This one shoots lightning and explodes things. This one's like a flamethrower. It's like, come on, man. This is the coolest thing ever. And the fact that you can only operate it if you have the alien DNA, and it's just like, yeah, that's you're speaking my language right now. So
right.
I don't know if there's anything else I've got to touch on here. I don't want to take up all the time here, but yeah, I think just getting back to the emotional attachment to the relationships and development is really what I appreciate about this. And again, it's so cleverly designed to really solidify the suspension of disbelief. I believe this entire story. I believe it's happening. So
yep,
I'm
100%. All right, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, Jason covered a lot of the things that I really liked, but so there's two that I really want to hit, and the first one's pretty small. Some of the comedic timing in this movie is so great because it's not, the Marvel wink at the camera. I just said a funny line, but the timing of certain things, and I'm thinking of when they're hunting for Vicus, and we're going to find him, right as he then blows up the place and he's running in.
Yes.
It's not quite a laugh out loud joke, but it's just enough that you're like amused. And there's so much heavy subject matter here that those little moments of levity, or the first time that Vicus uses that lightning gun, and just the guy just pops like a marinara filled water balloon.
What?
It's so unexpected. It catches you off guard, and the absurdity of it kind of makes it funny while also dealing with the horror of what you just saw. So I love that they were able to find ways to incorporate a little bit of levity without detracting from the heavy subject matter.
Every time he uses that lightning gun, I laugh. Seriously.
It's insane.
I'm not
It's
kidding.
so crazy.
Because you're right. The first time we see it when they're doing the testing, you're just kind of like, oh my God. And then the first time he uses on a person, you're like, oh my God. And I laugh out loud every time. I don't know what that says about me, but I definitely laugh out every time.
Especially when the blood splatter splashes across the lens.
Yes.
It's so effective.
Yes, it is.
Every time you're like, I can't believe that just happened.
Well, like in the testing when it splatters on Vicus, and he's feet, like a ways away, and it's still, Anyway, go ahead, Andrew, keep going.
The other thing, and we've mentioned it several times, but the allegory of this, like obviously it is a very, very direct parallel of apartheid in Johannesburg, filmed in the areas where these things happened. They used actual slums, but they kept it broad enough that it really applies to a lot of scenarios.
Yeah,
it's something that we can appreciate outside of just the history of apartheid South Africa. And like one of the things that I picked up on this time rewatching it was how much attention was focused on government control of the narrative. Even the documentary style nature of this was, well, he was a terrorist. Like Vicus was a terrorist. Like you're kind of getting that hint. But you watch the story and realize, well, no, he's not. But like that's the spin that they've put on it, or how they release images of him, having sex with a prawn to undermine him. It's all this control. But what really, really stuck with me this time, and I didn't even really notice it. It didn't register with me in when I first saw it in 2009, was even Vicus when he's going through and getting the prawns to sign stuff. He's doing some really like awful legal bureaucratic voodoo, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like when the prawn hits it out of his hand, he goes, that counts as a signature. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's like super illegal, but nobody cares. Nobody's going to check him on it.
No.
Or, they even kind of, he jokes about aborting these prawn babies, just pulling tubes out.
Yeah.
He's like,
pop,
here's a souvenir from your first one. And he's like, it's easier. They just pop. It's like popcorn. And it's like a fun joke, but that might fit into some more like silly sci-fi, but in this context, it's really showing the inhumanity of it in a way that's our protagonist. Like we're going to end up rooting for this guy, and they make him awful in like a really boring bureaucratic way.
Right.
And I thought that was really interesting because again, that applies beyond just the apartheid, but to any form of oppression, segregation, things like that. So I love the way that they added it and kept it broad enough that it's still relevant today in so many ways.
Yeah. Well, and I love how at the end of the film, the one guy, like his trainee at the beginning, and he's actually in jail because he was trying to expose the reality of it. So yeah, they do a really good job with that. And the fact that his father-in-law basically tells the doctor, "Yep, cut his arm off. I don't care," and then flat out lies to his daughter, like, "Oh, he's sick. He's gonna die." And I'm just like, that dude's horrible, horrible. And so good. So good.
Yeah, and it's not done in some like mustache twirly villain way. It's done in a very boring bureaucratic way.
Yeah.
That makes it feel very realistic, just like, everything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, you talk about Vicus and his character too, because he is flawed in so many ways, and
Oh, yeah.
he's not a good guy for a lot of the film. And that's really smart that he makes strides and he makes like steps forward throughout in his arc. But even up to the end, when he's wearing the mech suit, he flees. He runs away. He's still who he is. He hasn't transformed completely as an, internally as a human being. He still has his weaknesses, but then finally makes the right choice.
Right.
But to it's not like he's becomes a superhero by the end of the movie by any means. He's still a flawed human being throughout.
Right. Continuing a little bit with the visual effects, I want to talk about the physical metamorphosis that Vicus goes through to turn into a prawn. So, it is kind of subtle because they keep telling you 72 hours after exposure, but it is very reminiscent to Jeff Goldblum, his turn in The Fly, of course. It's done so well, like when the reveal, when he goes to the hospital and they unwrap his arm and those, that hand, quote unquote, arm pops out and he freaks out, the doctor freaks out, and you're just like, holy crap. And then later when he's his fingernails come out and his teeth fall out of his mouth and they're just, his arm completely starts to change and they start seeing things on his body. There is definitely a good amount of body horror in this film that on first watching I wasn't expecting. And even with the meat for the aliens, for the prawns and stuff like that, and then when they find that nest for the eggs, or for the alien eggs with the cow hanging from it's nasty. But usually stuff like that bothers me, but I was so invested in the story that I was able to deal with the fingernails and the teeth falling out. So, but it's done so well and it's interesting. And it's another one of the things that just visually is on a next level when it comes to filmmaking. So yeah, creepy. Just creepy.
You can actually smell the rot, can't you, when you're watching it?
Oh yeah.
Whether it's those unfortunate those bags that are popping with the babies inside, or it's the meat, the cow heads, or it's the cat food, and it's just like,
oh yeah,
God, are you kidding me?
When Vicus starts eating that can of cat food, I almost gag because I'm just like a kid. It's like, I love that because that's another, he's starting to turn, and like the prawns love that cat food, and here he goes, he has all that meat to choose from, and he chooses a can of cat food to eat, and the only reason he stops is because his teeth fall out and he realizes what he's doing, and I'm just like, ugh.
So I will say, as another little fun fact, is that they actually use the cat food in there because cat food is what a lot of the fishermen would use to catch prawns in South Africa, like as bait.
Right.
So that was sort of a little wink to their
nice.
Their prawn.
Love that. Just love it. All right. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to throw out that you love about the film before we move on?
I'll say we've talked about the visuals on the textural level and the CG and whatnot, but I also think just from a cinematography standpoint, there's a couple shots in this movie that are just genuinely beautiful. That, like, with the way the ship, the shape sort of mirrors like a city skyline, but upside down. Occasionally you get these wide shots of it that are just gorgeous. Or, Vicus, I remember when he's on the run, he's standing up and silhouetted against the sky. And I'm like, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really beautifully done. And a lot of it has that boring documentary style feel. So those ones really stand out and they hit hard when they do come.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a shot I know of the setting sun behind the city skyline that looks really good. So yeah, they do a good job balancing, like you mentioned before, the humor, especially towards the very beginning when they're first heading out into the slums. His trainee, who doesn't have a vest, he's like, "Oh, it'll be okay. You'll be fine. Just stay behind us. Just stay behind us." It's just a little bit of humor. They add in the humor, even though it's a very dark subject. They add in the beautiful shots, even though it's a very gritty feel. So nothing gets too overwhelming. Yeah,
the contrast is great. Yeah, don't worry, you don't have to have a vest. As soon as they step out of the vehicle, the bullets start flying. Right. The guy gets his arm ripped off. Unbelievable.
Oh, so good.
It happens so quick. You're like, oh my God, like this, what kind of movie am I watching? But Dayton, you brought up a moment I just wanted to shine some light on too, which gives me chills every time, is when he is taken in by the staff, the doctors, and because he's passed out after spitting up like black goo, which is just another gross, dark thing that happens. And then you don't know what's happening to his arm. And that moment when they unwrap the bandages and the tent, what do you call those? The claws, like
claws, yeah, sounds like
unfurl. And it just immediately cuts to Tanya sitting in the waiting room, and the music, the score, which is wonderful in this too, kicks in. The drums, and the soldiers just haul ass right by her, and she's freaking out. Gives me chills every time. I'm like, hell yeah, here we go. Now it's just kicked into a whole nother gear, and it gets really scary after that.
Yes, it does. Yeah, and like I said, she's not on screen a whole lot. The wife, she's really not, but she definitely makes the most of the scene she has through the phone calls or just her reaction to things. And that's impressive considering she doesn't really have a huge body of work. So, all right, cool. Let's go ahead and move on.
No, sir, I didn't like it.
It's time for No Sir, I Didn't Like It. These are things we don't like or don't work within the film. Once again, Jason, you're our special guest. Is there anything in here that doesn't work for you?
Right. Not a whole lot.
I only have two things.
Yeah, I think overall for me, I think there are some, and this happens in science fiction films, there's some, you just go with it moments. You just kind of have to accept this is, what it is, and take it with a grain of salt. So, the fact that there is this alien black liquid that is capable of fueling a tremendous spaceship, or prawn ship as it's known, but it also has the ability to transform a human into a prawn. That dual, it's like, okay, this is some pretty special black goo that has a lot of extremely crazy properties. So that's just kind of like, okay, it's a little bit of a stretch. There's convenient moments in this movie. It's not perfect. Some of the tech working in certain ways, or things happen at the, just at the right time. It's Christopher Johnson's son is kind of, he's pretty tech savvy with command module at all. He's pressing all the right buttons at the right time. The mech suit comes alive at the perfect moment. There's some other convenient moments with the Nigerians showing up in the final action sequence at the right time to kind of keep the private military guys, at bay, and things like that happens. I questioned some of the found footage angles at sometimes, like how are they getting this footage? Where did that come from? Whose body cam was that? And is that guy just hanging out watching things happen? It was a little bit like, how did they capture this particular angle with the found footage? You can get nitpicky with that stuff. Lastly, for me, the language itself, which is so cool, the actual
clicks,
language, the clicking is amazing, but it's about translation, right? How do they understand one another very well? And there could have been some fun, I think, playing around with maybe mistranslating what the prawns were saying at some times, or vice versa. Maybe a little bit more, light moments could have been had with that. But that's all I got, guys.
Well, after 20 years, you figure that somebody's going to learn the language a little bit more.
I thought about that too. You're right. Yeah, probably.
But and with and they kind of set it up with Christopher Johnson that because he's able to read the eviction notice. He's able to read that, and
he's one of the smarter ones.
Yeah, and they even made that comment, and then I figure he's probably been training his kid, since he was old enough to understand all the computers, and I attribute the mech to being activated by the ship. The ship comes alive.
That's what I thought too. Yeah.
So, that. But you're right. There's, there is that. It's convenient, and honestly, I didn't really care because I was enjoying the film way too much to really care.
Dayton, you just explained all of it away, and you just proved that this is a perfect movie. Thank you.
Wow. I got two things. We'll get there.
Yeah. So I had some similar things to Jason, but what it really boils down to for me is all of these coincidences or conveniences serve the plot, serve the story, serve the message. Sure. And certain sci-fi, and I mean this as a compliment, certain sci-fi just kind of hand waves stuff away because it's like, we don't need to explain that.
Right.
It doesn't matter why this works. This is what we needed because we're the moral we're trying to get to, or things like that, is the point here. The technical aspect isn't. And so, I mean, certain sci-fi movies do that great. Other ones do it terribly. But I think that, the kid knowing how to fly the ship doesn't really bother me. Like, yeah, if you want to get nitpicky, okay, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But that's what we needed to get to where we needed to get to for the emotional payoff, for the lesson to hit. And it's like, I compared it earlier to a good Twilight Zone episode, but it's also like early Star Trek. A lot of the logic was just not there. A lot of it doesn't make sense, but for this episode, we want to explore this idea or this concept or this philosophical question. So we're going to make rules that allow us to do that for this episode. And that's just kind of how this feels. It's like, well, this is what we wanted to explore. We're going to explore it. I don't care if it makes sense. You know what I mean?
All right. So do you actually have anything that doesn't work, or no? Is that it?
No, I mean, there's some logistical things. Okay. I think that, occasionally the metaphor got a little heavy-handed. And the one I looked at a couple of the complaints from a lot of South Africans that had issues with the film, because like largely it is regarded as extremely good. It's makes everybody's top lists of racial allegories in film, of sci-fi, that kind of thing, from critics. But a lot of them were saying that, like I said, the Nigerians were portrayed poorly, and also that using the prawns as a stand-in for Black South Africans in apartheid, a lot of the prawns were actually really stupid. There was only a couple smart ones, and they said that kind of sends the wrong message. But again, to me, that's you're looking at a very specific example, and they're trying to be very broad. So,
right,
I see where they're coming from, but those kind of things just they weren't issues for me.
Gotcha. Okay, so along the same lines of we're just going to go with it. So when Christopher and Vicus attack the bioweapons lab, they blow up the building, which is that great joke because, what's his name says, oh, that little shit doesn't know what's coming at him. And then they blow up the building, which is fantastic. Yeah. So they get downstairs and they have to use a keypad and a fingerprint for him to have access to the lab. You would think that a day later they would have taken his fingerprint out of the system.
That's a great call.
I'm just saying he's a traitor. They're portraying him as a traitor. So a real simple fix is just don't need the fingerprint. Have him put the code in there. I can deal with that. But
it's been a day, they're busy.
Yes, and he's been a traitor and listed as one. So it's been a whole day. And like everybody was looking for him in that day. So obviously, whatever.
I can't imagine they thought he was going to come back and break in that day.
Well, either way, that's not being very secure. Like I said, minor. So also towards the end, when Vicus finds out it's going to take 3 years for him to get healed, he kind of loses his temper and hits Christopher over the head with something and leaves him there basically to die. And I'm like, wait a minute. Just a little bit ago, his arc was getting better. And yes, he does run away later, but turns around and comes back. This to me is like a bridge too far. I can't imagine him at this point. I mean, not only he's upset, but literally he's going to sacrifice this being just so he can get to the ship. And ultimately, you need him to fix you. So that seems to be like you're just screwing yourself. If there's no Christopher, there's no you getting fixed. I think what they did, they were just trying to get Vicus to fly the ship. Cool, whatever. You didn't need to knock him over the head. They could have gotten captured. They're going to get captured anyway. There's other ways they could have gotten to that point without him having to have that really negative turn. And to be honest, in my mind, him jumping in the alien mech is way more of a cool reveal than him flying the ship because he does it very poorly. But anyway, so that to me just seemed like, he has to fix you. Why leave him there to die? I don't know. But anyway, those are my two things. That's it. That's all I could find that really didn't work for me. But they're minor-ish, I guess. Minor-ish.
Yeah, it's a really tight movie. There's not a lot of mistakes. There's not a lot to complain about. They kept it pretty tight.
Yeah,
agreed. And I wanted to just say, look, Andrew is making this point. Like a lot of sci-fi movies do try to or they just brush away certain things, or why things just kind of conveniently work. And just speaking of the tech in this movie, I give this movie so much credit, and I think it's really smart that there isn't any, if at all, tech jargon. Usually you get a lot of that junk, that junk speak, that science jargon, and there's nothing. They just find cool objects are like, oh, you get the fuel from these little things you find in the trash and you put it together and we get a couple drops and it makes the ship fly. They press buttons. We don't know what the names of the weapons are. We don't know the names of specific pieces, tools or anything. It's never mentioned.
Right.
Yeah, because it always sounds really hokey when they do. Like, oh, this deatomizing. Like, just stop. Just
right.
Stop.
Like, yeah, this is the G94 special, whatever weapon. And it's like, no, we don't need to know. Just looks amazing. It works. We're going with it. We got to get to the next moment.
Agreed. All right. We're going to take a quick promo break. And when we get back, we're going to hit some favorites and give this film a rating.
Welcome to the All 80s Movies Podcast.
I'm Bill.
And I'm Jason. And this is the podcast where we talk about the blockbusters, the flops, and everything in between from one of the freshest decades for movies, the 1980s. So whether you're a brain, a jock, a valley girl, or a Jedi, we've got some 80s classics for you.
Do these movies stand the test of time? Are we discovering something new? Is there an 80s movie we are finally watching for the first time?
Join us each week as we dive into the cinematic nostalgia that inspired and influenced a generation. From the hits to the cult classics, we'll discuss our earliest memories, favorite scenes, fun facts, and our not-so-favorite movie moments, too.
You can find the All 80s Movies Podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. Please subscribe and happy listening.
Why are you smiling like that?
I just like to smile. Smiling's my favorite.
Make work your favorite. That's your favorite, okay?
Okay.
Work is your new favorite.
Fine.
All right, it's time for Smiling's My Favorite. These are some favorite things we have about the film. So first, favorite scene. Jason.
This was tough.
Yeah.
This is really tough for me. Upon this rewatch for me, maybe I can give a shout out to one. I think I have to go within the final action set piece. It is all about the mech suit for me. I can't get enough of that sequence. It's a combination of action and brutality and heroism by Vicus, and also true cowardice of Vicus at the same time. There's a lot of levels to it, but I mean, for a science fiction movie, it's just a kick-ass action sequence. And this is where I compare it to Avatar a little bit, because when we're talking about mech suits, right, alien mech suits or robotic mech suits, we get a ton of them. And they're very cool in Avatar. The design is great. But here we got one suit, one guy, and he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And the suit kind of takes over. And Charlton, like, his performance is brilliant. It's just his face, and he is falling apart. And then the suit falls apart. And there's a moment when it's Venter, the PMC, the baddie, fires that rocket launcher at the command module, and he just reaches up and catches the missile with the mech suit.
The timing of that is brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah, like you just want to stand up out of your chair. It's so good.
You're like, yeah. There are so many things going on within that action scene. So, yeah, I mean, it starts with the mech suit turning on, right? When it just powers up, and it's, Vicus is about to meet his demise, but then the mech suit just they shoot at it, it collects all the bullets and fires all the bullets back, and the Nigerian gang is just taken out, and then there's that electric, whatever that thing attaches to the main Nigerian guy's forehead and explodes his whole head. That look on his face when he gets hit with it in the forehead is like, oh, and then he's gone immediately. So, but once he climbs, Vicus climbs into the mech suit, it's all rock and roll from there. So
good call.
Yeah, so I mean that final action sequence, but especially everything to do with the mech suit was and then when he falls out of it at the end. Yeah.
Yes.
This is like a year after Iron Man, and I think it has similar vibes where it's just the face shot of Charlton, kind of like they did with RDJ. The really gritty feel that first Iron Man had, as he's taking out terrorists and stuff, except with a much more brutal approach that Blomkamp, is sort of known for now, but it was brand new to us back then. Yeah, it is wild. It's very, very unforgettable.
Yeah, I love watching that. Just you're right. The whole mech suit is great, and his expression, when he's getting hit and everything else, and talk about uh, Venter. That's the most satisfying death in the whole film is when the prawns all come and rip him apart. I'm sorry.
Rip
I'm
his
like,
head off of his body.
he so deserved it. Oh man, it was great.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I do have to mention, because the crux of this really is that moment when Vic decides to run away and he leaves Christopher Johnson.
Yep.
It's awful.
It sucks.
But that moment when he comes hauling ass back and he's running in the suit and he uses every weapon in his arsenal on that damn thing. It's great. And that moment when the whole, let me just say this, is that the best part of it is when the two of them are running together. When you have Vickus in the suit trying to kind of protect Christopher Johnson, and Christopher Johnson even picks up like a piece of scrap metal to use as a shield, and they're running side by side. You're like, hell yeah, we've got the team up. Finally, they're working together. And at one point, it's just, again, a moment where I want to cry is when Vickus says to him, you need to go. You need to save your son. You need to go and get back to your people, or whatever it is. It's like a tearjerker moment. It's like, yeah, he finally grew a pair and he's doing the right thing. There's some real emotional moments within all the chaos of the action.
Well, and even Christopher says, I'm not going to leave you. I won't leave you here.
I won't leave. Thank you. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm just like, holy crap, this guy now they've completely have that bond where, now the alien doesn't want to leave the human, and I'm just like, man, this is amazing. And then he finally convinces him to get his son safety. And yeah, there's a lot of emotion in this film where you're kind of surprised there would be. So,
yeah.
All right. Andrew, favorite scene?
Well, it's another emotional one, but it's a really complex one. It's after they've broken into the MNU facility looking for the cylinder.
Yep.
I love it because, it's, we talked about the sort of comedic moment leading into it. This is the first time you see them really use the alien weaponry to its full potential, which has just absolutely bonkers results. And so there's a lot of violence. There's a lot of humor. There's a lot going on, especially because these two are clearly not criminal masterminds. They're kind of freaking out, just trying to get in there. But then it all comes to a head in that moment where Christopher realizes what's been going on in this lab. And Vickus, says, like, I swear I didn't know, like, until I was down here, I didn't know this was going on. And for me, at least, it's the first time that Christopher goes from just being like a character that you need for the plot to, like, now he's the guy I'm rooting for.
Yeah.
Like, up to this point, Vickus was the protagonist. Now you're like, I really hope Christopher gets out of here. And, so it's a powerful moment. It really switches the dynamic between the two of them, all while crazy action set pieces and, wild alien technology is going off. And I think that was just a really cool thing to balance and land, and they nailed it.
Yeah. So once again, to the humor, when they get down there and they open up the door, the guard shoots Vickus, and so he fires back and blows the thing up. And Christopher goes, I thought you said not to kill him. He's like, well, he shot at me first. I'm just like, oh my God. It's so funny. It's so, this film is so many layers. So in regards to my favorite scene, we're going to go along with the weapons. And Jason mentioned it earlier. The weapons testing scene is my favorite scene because not only do we get to see how awesome these weapons are, but this is where Vickus his arc really starts to change. So he's captured. He's down there. They're putting the arm into the guns, and he's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And then the first time it goes off, they're like, oh my gosh, it works. And so they try another one, and he starts, I don't want to do this. And he starts asking about his wife. He wants to talk to his wife. Where's his wife? And they're ignoring him. And then he's like, no, I don't want to pull the trigger. So then they put his hand on there, and then they shock him to get his finger to snap the trigger. So they're not only are they using him, but they're torturing him, and he keeps asking for his wife. And then they bring out an alien as a target with a big X on the body, and he realizes what's about to happen. He's like, no. It's like, I'll pull the trigger. I'll shoot the pig. I'll shoot the pig. And they do it to him again. And that's one with the lightning bolt that explodes all over him. And that is such a powerful scene because you really start to see the turn. You see the love he has for his wife. You see the realization that, we've been torturing these aliens. Like, yeah, he might not think they're necessarily on his same level, but he doesn't think they deserve this. And that's when our, Vicus becomes our protagonist, our the one we are actually rooting for. Because now we're like, oh my God, I really do feel sorry for this bumbling idiot because and then the next thing they're going to cut his arm off. I mean, oh my God. So that is where the movie for me really starts to kick in and really starts to carry an emotional weight is with that weapons testing scene. So, and it has awesome weapons.
So great.
But anyway,
yeah.
So, I mean, I keep going back to the word powerful, and Andrew said it as well. That I was torn between the mech suit scene and that MNU laboratory scene as well, Andrew, because that one really hit me hard upon this rewatch, more so than it had before. For some reason, it's all about Christopher standing at that examination table looking at the deceased fellow prawn. It's one of his people that has been probably tortured and mutilated for the sake of science and for this MNU corporation to, for their whatever weapons research and things like that. It's awful. And that scene is so leveled and loaded with all that crazy, insane, awesome action and the humor you guys have mentioned. But when the music rises and the sound design of the rest of the chaos lowers and the music comes up as Christopher is staring, he's frozen. He's frozen by it. Just the sheer grief that he has. You can't not be moved by that.
You mentioned earlier their ability to emote with these very inhuman bug-like, features. You still feel it with the body language, with the way they show the emotions in the face. Like, your heart breaks for this thing that in theory you shouldn't be able to like empathize with, but you can. And that's credit to the performers, credit to the filmmaking.
There's a real subtle moment when he's like slumping, but you see him actually almost touch the corpse. Like he's trying, he's like puts his hands over the corpse as if he wants to hold him. And it's like, oh my God, this is awful.
Yeah. And the only thing that snaps him out of that is when Vicus mentions the kid, you need to get, we need to go save your kid. And that's what brings him, which, makes him a little bit more relatable. So yeah, it's a great scene. Great scene. All right. Favorite character, Jason.
There's some obvious. I always think it's funny when like the star of the film is the standout, because Charlton Copley as Vicus Vandermeer is brilliant. But for me, I'm going to go with our genuine dickhead, Colonel Kubus Venter. I mean, on this rewatch, he's nasty.
Oh yeah, he is. Yes,
he's a good villain. Yeah.
Yes, he is a very good villain.
IMDb, I'm like, why hasn't this guy done more? He doesn't even have a photo on IMDb. I'm like, but come on. I could be mistaken. Maybe I didn't see it when I looked.
I didn't see one either.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to give him his kudos. He's a great bad guy, and I think one of you mentioned when he gets his comeuppance, it's a real cheering moment. Like you're like, hell yeah.
And that tells you he's a good villain because you cheer his death.
Yeah. I love that it's not Vicus that does it too. I love that it's the prawns getting to rip him apart. Like,
great.
That makes it feel even better.
Well, he even spends the whole movie enjoying. He enjoys. Yeah, he even says, "I can't believe I get paid to kill prawns," and it was just like, well, guess what?
Oh yeah,
he's a bully on top of being a dick.
Oh yeah,
I mean, and there's that great moment in the beginning when Vicus is trying to tell one of the PMC guys that he's got too much ammo, and then Venter like just slaps the clipboard out of his hand and gets in his face. It's a real like, oh, this guy's a real ass.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and he's the entire time. He never deviates. All right, Andrew, your favorite character?
I mean, it's got to be Christopher Johnson.
That was mine too. Okay, yay.
Yeah, it's I want to try to pull some more esoteric character, but he's great. I love his motivation. I love that he's really just trying to. He's been at this for 20 years trying to get his people saved in secret. His back's against the wall. I think that this entire movie could have been told from his perspective, and it would be a really, really cool movie. It wouldn't have the same cultural impact, but like narratively, that he's the hero, and he's put in that situation where he's like, well, I did say I was going to save Vicus, but they're torturing my people. I've got to save my people first. That's got to be my priority. And I just think that's fantastic. Plus, I think that as a father myself, like, that's that motivation, that scene, like you said, where he's like, you think of your boy and it snaps him out of it.
Yeah.
That gets to me every time. So
yeah,
I love his character. I love that they were able to do that with a character that looked like him. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, he was my choice, but I also, by extension, want to call out all the speaking aliens, because he did the part for all those. As I mentioned before, the deleted scenes shows him in the motion capture suit and on stilts and doing all the improv. With Sharkle, when the whole eviction scenes and all the documentary scenes are him and those two working off each other. And he's even doing like you watch him, he's doing like the lip thing, like he's licking, like, trying to sound with the clicks and everything else. He's really fantastic, and of course he's also one of the people being interviewed throughout the film as well. So the guy plays so many parts in this film and does them all very, very well. So shout out to Jason Cope and our favorite character, Christopher Johnson. So fantastic. Now, this one I'm very curious about. I definitely know neither one of you are going to pick Avatar for this question. So favorite sci-fi film after the year 2000. So I'm not going to lie. I cheated. I have 3. But anyway, Jason, go ahead.
I cheated as well. And I have 2. They're both from 2014, as it turns out.
Okay, fantastic.
So I went with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Nice. I have that one too. So that one checks off my list.
No
very
kidding.
Good. Yes, it's
That's
fantastic. Yeah, fantastic.
I saw that. I'll never forget seeing that in the theaters. That's a movie that got me, that really moved me. I remember it because it surprised me. I wasn't expecting it to affect me in that way. And again, motion capture, Andy Serkis.
Yes.
In the eyes. It's really amazing. Matt Reeves directing. Jason Clarke is great in it. He's wonderful in it. I love that actor. The second film I'd chosen was Edge of Tomorrow.
Yes, that was almost made my list. It's so good.
I was lucky to get invited to an early screening. I want to say it was The Egyptian. I could be wrong. Tom Cruise was there. Got to see him in person. Yeah.
Wow.
And it was pretty exciting. Again, wasn't expecting it to be as cool as it was, and I still think that is an underrated sci-fi movie directed by Doug Liman, and Emily Blunt is great in it too.
Yes,
I thought that was going to be just generic stupid action. Yeah, it's really good. That one really caught me off guard.
Yeah, well, when you have good director, and you have, I've say what you want about him personally. I've noticed over the years that Tom Cruise has a tendency to put together a good team from, writer, director, and co-stars. So, like I said, say what you want about his personal life. He knows how to put together quality, with the exception of The Mummy. Moving on, but the rest of the stuff he's put together over the years, he's proven himself to be able to know what makes a good, fun film. So, yeah, love Edge of Tomorrow so much.
I have to say, I just want to say real quick, he's great to his fans. At that screening, he got up in the crowd. Like he allowed everybody to come right up to him for autographs. There was no, he didn't have an entourage of security or anything. He was very personable with everybody. Very cool.
Yeah, I saw a video the other day of a reporter or whatever, photographer that actually fell down because they were backing up to take a picture, and he actually helped the photographer back up. So he could have easily walked past him, but he didn't. So yeah, I've heard that too. So, all right. Andrew, favorite film, sci-fi film after 2000?
So I also picked 2, but there's a reason for that. One is legitimately my favorite. It's probably my favorite sci-fi movie of all time. Probably. That's a tough thing to say, but it's going to be Children of Men.
Fantastic.
I absolutely love it. It's Alfonso Cuarón, starring Clive Owen. It's near future dystopian, but there's so much hope. It's beautiful. The soundtrack's amazing. If I could make a movie, that's the kind of movie I would want to make. So that is probably that's my honest answer, but I also decided to pick one that I think more people should see, which actually came out the same year as this. It was 2009, a movie by Duncan Jones called Moon.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, sure.
Actually, that trailer is actually on the Blu-ray for this film. So
I love that movie. I saw it on a whim in the theaters because I just had a free evening. I didn't know anything about it, and I just walked in, and I still think about it all the time. It's another one of those movies that the end just it's haunting. It sticks with you. It's clever. It's cool. It's really just Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
It's just Sam Rockwell the whole time.
Yeah.
Kevin Spacey plays the voice of the robot, but that's, he's just a voice. It's really just him the whole time, and he carries it so well. Children of Men's the honest answer, but I got to recommend Moon. That's more the esoteric pull. If you've never seen it, please do.
I love Sam Rockwell. Just love Sam Rockwell.
In anything.
He makes the most of his roles for sure, and does a good variety. He has a good comic timing. Can be very dramatic. Yeah, he's solid for sure.
Rockwell, he's the man. I love
Right.
Sam Rockwell and everything. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy even has a little part in there. He's brilliant. He's like, just thinking of other sci-fi movies that he's done, but Moon, the use of miniatures in that. Awesome to add to the realism. The look is great, but yeah, he's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
All right. Yeah, I'm ashamed to say I have not seen that one yet. It is on my list.
Oh,
do the other thousands of films I need to see. It's there. So, as I did say before, I did cheat, but thanks to Jason picking Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, I don't have to cheat as much. I just want to shout out that the Planet of the Apes reboots is a great example of how to do a reboot well. I've enjoyed all four of the films, and personally, I would say that they're definitely better than the original sequels, and they're definitely better than the Tim Burton sequel. Moving on. But anyway, it's funny to after the 2000s started, there seems to be a lot of really well-made science fiction films. So it made this very difficult for me. So obviously I'm going to say Avatar just to anger these two guys. I truly, I looked at my list, I looked at through my collection, and I told myself I had to own the movie for me to pick it. I also narrowed it down by how many times I've seen the film and also how much fun I enjoy watching it. So Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was one, Avatar is the other. And honestly, the Star Trek reboot from J.J. Abrams is so much fun. I enjoy the sequels, and I could have picked any number of Abrams films from the 2000s and on, but I did promise myself I wouldn't mention any of the films we've reviewed on the podcast. So, of course, we covered the Star Wars sequels, as well as a bunch of other ones that would have been on the list but got kicked off. But for me, Avatar, the Star Trek reboot, and the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes are my top three, and they're all fantastic. And it's science fiction has been pretty solid since the year 2000. So, as I pointed out, after these two films, a lot more of them got Best Picture nominations, and that's important. Kind of legitimize that genre of film. So, all right. Let's go ahead and hit final word and rating for this film. 1 to 5 film reels. So, Jason, how do you want to sum this up, and what is your rating?
I have to say that was just one of my favorite movies. I mean, gosh, of all time. So I'm giving it a strong 5. I adore this movie. I think, especially as Blomkamp's feature film debut.
I know, right?
Copley was in a short film before this and not new to acting. There's genius in this movie. Yeah. It's extremely smart, and it's not perfect, but I just have maybe some nostalgia involved with it as well, because I saw it with my dad, and it just took me off guard as to how good it was. So it's leveled. I'll just say it's leveled. It's layered. There's so much going on, but the fact that I could be so entertained and blown away by the technology aspect of it and still be so invested in the arcs and relationships, and to actually be, pretty close to tears at a couple of different moments throughout. The movie is still is it just under 2 hours total running time?
Yeah, I think it's 112 minutes. So yeah, it's under 2 hours.
Right. It's a pretty impressive accomplishment, and I'm still waiting for District 10.
No.
No,
it's perfect the way it is. It doesn't need more.
Right. All right, Andrew.
Yeah, I think. I don't know if I could give it a full 5. I don't know if it has the broad impact of a movie that I would give a 5. I'm gonna say 4.5 stars. It's great. We've sung its praises for the last hour and change, so I don't need to say why.
Right.
But yeah, it's a beautiful film. It holds up really, really well. It's still relevant. I recommend it. It should be in any conversation about sci-fi, any conversation about low budget filmmaking, any conversation about allegory in film. I think this needs to be listed there.
Agreed. So for me, it's definitely a strong sci-fi film that has plenty of action and brains, which unfortunately doesn't always go hand in hand. The violence and body horror may put off some people, which is why I'm only going to give it 4.5 film reels, because and the couple of things I did mention before that keep it from being perfect. But I definitely enjoy this film, and it definitely holds up visually, emotionally, and just filmmaking wise. If you have not seen District 9, you definitely need to watch it. And for the most part, we definitely did not spoil the ending. So just going to leave it right there.
That's true. We did.
We did not. We were good and did not spoil the ending. So, but yeah, it's worth your time. And yeah, it looks beautiful on Blu-ray, by the way, just on my big TV.
Yeah, I need to get it on 4K.
Well, this has been a huge pleasure to discuss this film with our special guest, Jason. Make sure to check out Bill Bant and Jason over at the All 80s Movies podcast. Thank you so much for being here, Jason, and picking this film.
Oh, guys, this was a blast. I appreciate all of your insight and your enthusiasm for it. You guys are great. This was fun to do it with you guys.
And of course, thank you, Andrew, for coming by. It's been a while.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back. Thank you.
And we're going to try and bring back Andrew in the fall. We're doing a zombie movie month, and he has graciously offered to be here for one of our episodes. So, of course, thank you to Andrew. And thank you to our listeners for spending time with us. Let us know what you think of District 9. If you have not seen it, please spend 2 hours watching this film. It is fantastic and well worth your time. Let us know what you think. Reach out on social media. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Blue Sky. We also have a Discord. There's a link in our show notes to jump on that and chat with us directly. Rate and review the podcast and share the podcast with friends and family, because as far as we're concerned, more people and more better. If you really want to help out the podcast, consider joining our Patreon for exclusive content for as little as $1 a month. You can get access to reviews that we could not get into our regular scheduled programming. And the most recent review is the Van Halen album, For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. I will not use the abbreviation. Anyway, go make sure to check that out, as well as a bunch of other exclusive content. Some upcoming episodes I want to mention. Next week, John Reed of the 30-something Movie Podcast will be joining us, because every year I have to do at least one Star Wars episode. We are discussing the Ron Howard directed Solo, a Star Wars story. Do yourself a favor and watch more movies. And remember, physical media is better than streaming. The Docking Bay 77 podcast is produced and edited by Dayton Johnson. Recorded with Rode Pod mics, the Zoom PodTrack P4, and edited on Audacity. Opening music provided by Eric Jason Brock. You can find him on YouTube and Bandcamp. Thank you for listening.
In defense of Avatar, I just want to say I do not dislike it. I enjoy the film for what it is. It's just that I make the comparison because there are similarities between Avatar and District 9, having to do with obviously like the displacement of an alien species, and you can make some one-to-one comparisons. They're not the same movie, clearly, but it's just the way the story happens to be told and in the style. Yeah.
I'm not going to argue that Avatar is a better story, because it's not. And this is more creative, and I completely agree with that. I just, visually, just Avatar just takes me out. And people like to joke that it's Dances with Wolves in space. I said yes, and I love Dances with Wolves. So you just added sci-fi to Dances with Wolves. I'm happy. I'm good. But anyway,
I won't pick on Avatar. I just like picking on Dayton.
I know. I know. Doesn't everybody?
He just
That's
push
right.
his buttons.
Yeah, pick on the hippie. I get it. Okay, that's fine. All right.